What's up, guys? This is Jesse Corby here at Jeweler's Advantage, and I wanted to get this video down even though it's a late night right now, my time, because we got a really good comment on our YouTube channel from Darren Jerome Music. So shout out to Darren. You had a really great question, and I think everybody could benefit from this. And Darren's question was, could you do a video about how you recommend to keep your brand identity as you scale, thus able to branch out to a wider audience and reach more customer avatars, is essentially what we're getting at here. So how do you maintain your identity while you scale up and become a bigger business to reach more of an audience? So there's a lot to unpack here because there are right ways and wrong ways to do this. And we can take some inspiration from even other industries outside of jewelry that have done this successfully. Now, the first thing that we would want to understand if we're trying to maintain our identity while scaling is that there is a brand identity and there is a real framework that we adhere to called the Brand Prism that would allow you to really understand the core fundamentals of the brand that are not going to change, like the physique, the colors, and the typography that you use for your brand, probably not going to change. The overall personality of your brand, the tone of voice that you use in your brand voice, and things like that, probably not going to change. Your culture and your values, why you do this business, can evolve over time, but the real core emotional reason of why you're doing this and the winning team that you want to build and the emotion of that winning team behind the scenes in your company culture probably don't want to change. The self-image of who your customer gets to become, this is where it could adapt, but basically your customer is going to want to become something and use your brand as a vehicle to get there. The way that you're going to communicate that is going to be the reflection of the Brand Prism, and the way you define your relationship with the customer is probably going to remain consistent as you grow the business and scale. So what I just went over was the Brand Prism. That's a framework that is built into our AI tools at Jeweler's Advantage. If you're in the jewelry industry or if you're in another industry but want to capitalize on this framework, use our AI model called Luxury Maestro. The brand identity itself should remain fairly consistent even if the operations becomes more mature in the business. Those core pillars of the operation are probably going to change as you scale. So those are going to be the way that you develop products and design them. As you scale up and get more resources, you can do more complex things and more expensive things as you design your product. The way you market the business is probably going to scale and become different because you're going to have more resources, and you would eventually change from a more intimate message because a smaller luxury brand has to beat the big guys through service and a closer relationship with the customer. That changes over time the most through your marketing. When it comes to sales and service, you are going to have to focus on selling higher ticket items to start. And then as you expand out into the market, the brand identity overall will probably stay the same, but the way that you would sell products and be servicing volumes of orders would change. And that would change the relationship with the customer to a degree because you can only prioritize people so much. When it comes to operations, the way that that is going to change is that you would probably start with more bespoke products if you're in jewelry, or if you're in fashion, you'd probably want to go with higher end kind of like couture items. That can change over time as you can scale with the unit economics and sell higher volumes of product. And then, of course, the finances change as you scale the business. The budgets have to change. So when we're talking about how your brand identity would scale with the business, the core aspects of who you are and what you want your reputation to be are probably going to only change in the level of intimacy that you have with your customer. There are those 5 pillars of the business with product, marketing, sales, operations, and finance. Those scale with the business and become more elaborate and more complex with maturity, but your overall identity will probably remain the same. It's just that continuum of being really intimate with the customer when you're the little guy, because you have to win through service when you're a small luxury brand, and then having that kind of grip on the relationship loosen as you have more aspirational products brought in on a lower level of your value ladder. That's going to reduce the intimacy. So basically, we're talking about a continuum of really, really intimate with the customer on up to less intimate, but you want to make sure that you're maintaining the same identity and values and promise and personality and overall presentation of what that brand would be so that it still feels the same. So I hope I'm answering the question. The way that you would scale this identity as you're branching out to a wider audience is you can think of a really good example with Facebook. And a lot of tech companies understand this with the value of a niche. That would be your focus in the market, like the little segment that you have in the market and the specific type of customer. When you're at that level of being really intimate as the small luxury business, you need diehard fans. So you really, really need to be locked in with who are the people that are going to be the most rabid follower super fans of the brand. I'm bringing up super fan because you're a music guy, Mr. Darren Jerome, so I know that that'll land with you. When you're attracting these super fans, that's that level of intimacy. With Facebook, that would have been the equivalent of them starting at Harvard. And then it was all Ivy League schools. So it's called looping out from the niche. It was Harvard, then it was all Ivy League schools, then it was all colleges, then it was high schools. So it had this educational thread running through it, and then they opened it up to everybody, and then your grandma could be on Facebook. That's the way you would scale your brand identity as you're reaching a broader market. Now, where this gets complex is that if you are trying to maintain a luxury aesthetic, you don't necessarily want to reach the total addressable market. It's more important for you to maintain a sense of exclusivity and scarcity with your product in order to maintain a higher price point with the product. So it depends on the market segment that you're going on. If you're wanting to go mass market, then it's very clear cut. It's stay within the bounds of a niche that is going to result in product market fit and a rabid fan base because you have resonance with your marketing. And then you're just expanding it gradually as you get out to the broadest market that you can. And maybe at a certain point, you don't care if your pricing starts to drop off. That's how you start seeing luxury brands like Coach at the outlet mall. This happens with a lot of brands that could start out as more of a high-end boutique-y kind of fashion brand, and then eventually they're at an outlet mall in North Carolina or something like that. If you don't care about that maybe the goal is even that you want to be at the middle market one day, you would still start with a niche and then build out and loop out from that niche and build popularity, hopefully, and then at a certain point you're in the mass market. If you are in the high end, you probably don't want to do that because you need to maintain the scarcity and exclusivity in order to maintain the high luxury price point. So, hope that helped. If we're going to recap this and just try to bring it home for a landing, because this is a complex topic, you had an awesome question. So, bear in mind that this requires more thought than I can do in a 10-minute video. But essentially, what you're going to want to see is that using tools like Jeweler's Advantage or one of our other tools, Luxury Maestro, you would dial in a Brand Prism. That's all in our AI that will give you a high-level consulting engagement kind of in the palm of your hand for the price of your subscription to ChatGPT. That will get you started. The Brand Prism is kind of like the soul of the brand, and it also has a lot to do with who your customer is going to be and how you would communicate with them. And then understand that no matter what stage of maturity you're at, you have 5 pillars of the machine of the business, with product, marketing, sales, operations, and finance, and your underpinning technology under all of that to make it all work, and that grows as you mature. So the simple answer is to get very locked in on your brand identity through the Brand Prism. Be mindful of those 5 pillars, and then know that you really have to get resonance with your first 1,000 core fans, and then start looping out, and then be mindful of how you're going to manage the perception of that brand and how big you really want it to be if you want to have control of your pricing. So, hope that helped. That was a great question. That is how you expand to a broader audience while making sure that you have a firm bedrock of stability with how you're going to build the business and brand. Hope that helps. My name is Jesse Corby here at Jewelers Advantage. Let us know in the comments if you have a request of something that you'd like for me to cover, and we will see you in the next one.